welcome to this edition of the Commissioner's Report. Today we're going to get to know a little bit better Commissioners Ed Smith and Todd Dantzler. Leading off today's program is Commissioner Ed Smith. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, and appreciate the honor of being here.
Yes, thank you. We realize you are very well grounded and qualified to serve as a county commissioner due to your past experiences, including serving in the U.S. Navy and as administrator and teacher for the school system. Could you please tell us about your times in the Navy and with the school board?
My Navy experiences, I'll just start that real quickly. I began in the Naval Reserve program, as a matter of fact, in Winter Haven, and was in the reserves through college for a 6-year period, and then went on active duty in the United States Navy, and had 28 years on active duty. I served on 6 different ships, as a matter of fact. Progressed through the enlisted grades from seaman recruit to Master Chief Petty Officer, and retired as a limited duty officer lieutenant in surface electronics. And I just enjoyed every bit of it. As I said, 14 years of my time in the Navy was at sea, on, as I said, on 6 different ships. And so that was really a good experience, and I think it was a lot of fun, but it was also a learning experience. My time with the Polk County School Board, I began as a teacher in the classroom at Stamball Middle School in Auburndale. And from there, I went to Jewett Academy as still as a teacher, and then to a couple of other schools, but wound up at Auburndale High School for my last 10 years before retiring. I was head track coach for 2 years, and was administrator there for 10 years. So I guess that's my experience in those 2 areas, in the U.S. Navy and also in the Polk County school system.
And then you became a commissioner for your beloved town of Lake Alfred, and you were also the mayor. Tell us about those times.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. You know, people say, well, Lake Alfred is not Polk County. Well, that's true, but you know, a lot of it's amazing that a lot of the same problems exist. You know, there's always more needs than there is budget or money to fill the needs. The budget here just has a lot more zeros, but it's still a requirement to do that, and the bottom line is, of course, the responsibility there is to serve the people and to make life better, both in a city and in Polk County, and that's what we like to do, and that's why we're here. I'm certainly not a politician. I've never thought that or said that of myself. I absolutely feel that I'm a public servant, and that's what I'm here to do, is to serve the public and to make a better life for our citizens in Polk County, and as I did in the city of Lake Alfred.
And in Lake Alfred, you got into the grassroots because you also served as chairman of the LA Planning and Zoning Board.
Yes, I was chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board for 3 years, and I think that's a good stepping stone. It's a good place to start because you really learn the grassroots of what makes a city run.
And how do you serve, Commissioner, your community beyond your public service?
I've always been active in my church, some civic organizations, one of them for a long period of time. And so I think I try to stay involved socially. The thing about it is, I think right now, with being a county commissioner, if you really work at this job, you really don't have the time for a lot of the civic organizations that you'd like to put in, and yes, I certainly would like to, but it just comes down to the point, you know, that once in a while you've got to say, I cannot take on another responsibility. And matter of fact, the last organization I joined, I said, well, guys, I support you, and yes, I'll join your organization, but I'm not going to be very active, and that's the Vietnam Veterans of America. And I said, yes, I'd love to. I support you,
yes, sir,
and I love what you're doing, But I said, and I will certainly join, but I will not be able to be active, and I hate to say that, but I said, I just have to tell you that up front.
Yeah, it's only so many hours in the day.
Exactly.
Speaking of the county commission, you're in your second term. You've gained a lot of insight on how the county government works. How does the county commission impact all of the communities in Polk County?
Well, we are a subdivision of the state of Florida, as a matter of fact, state of Florida government. And the things that government does, I mean, we're responsible for. And my goodness, I think when I go out speaking once in a while to organizations, and I have a chart that I put up with a list of the things that Polk County does. And I think most people are agape when they see that. That, they think, well, they know we build roads. They think about that. And they know that there's Polk County Fire Department and Polk County EMS, and they're aware of that. But so many other things that touch people's lives that they really aren't aware of. And so it's a very, very big and a very important job to really try to continually improve the lives of the people in Polk County. And that means trying to encourage and create, well, not create, but encourage jobs in Polk County, which has been a big effort that we've been engaged in the last 3 years since the crash of the economy, of course, and so many people out of work. Anything we could do to create jobs, we've been trying to do that. So it's really a big job, but I think tremendously important.
We can see that you enjoy your job and you take a lot of satisfaction. What are the challenges, if any, of being a county commissioner?
The challenges? Well, I think, I was thinking about this last night, Mr. Degennaro, and I think the biggest not problem, but the biggest challenge, if I can say that, is making decisions sometimes that are going to be unpopular, but it's the right thing to do. And I think you just have to do the right thing, even though sometimes you realize it's not going to be popular. I have to say, and I've never forgotten this, the biggest piece of advice I got shortly after election is I was talking to Representative Seth McKeel one day from Lakeland, and he said, "Ed, I want to give you one piece of advice." He said, never get away from your principles. Never sacrifice your principles. And I've always remembered that, do the right thing. Sometimes it may not be popular, but I think after it's all over and the dust clears, people say, well, I didn't agree with that decision at the time, but it was the right thing to do. And sometimes you just have to do the right thing. And I think that's the biggest challenge of government, period, is making decisions that are going to be unpopular. But it's the right thing to do.
You're all about, Commissioner, streamlining government or at least creating efficiencies. What drives that in you?
Well, a responsibility, I think, and being I think a good steward of the public's money, and realize that when people give government their money, they expect services in return. And there's the biggest responsibility, I think, and to manage the public's money in a responsible way, and realize, and I've said this many times before, and I firmly believe it, Polk County Commission has no money. We have absolutely $0. We have been charged with managing the public's money, and that is their money, and they expect a return on investment. And the return on investment is that they get services, $1 worth of service for $1 received. And that's what we're here for, and that's what we're charged with doing. And I feel very strongly about that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is very popular today with our citizens, that they want good stewardship of their tax dollars in government.
Value received. I've always said I don't mind paying money for something if I know I'm getting something in return. And that goes for anything I buy. for a car or for clothes or for a house or anything I buy, I expect to get, quote, the old saying goes, my money's worth.
Yes, sir. At the top of the program, you talked about how vast county government is and how it touches people. You're particularly interested in Polk Transit and how we move people from place to place?
Yes, I am. I think Polk Transit is very important, not only to Polk County right now, but for the future growth of Polk County. And I know everybody doesn't ride Polk Transit and probably never will, but some people actually depend on Polk Transit very much. Students depend on Polk Transit, especially our college students, to get to school. With the cost of education these days, by the time they pay books, fees, tuition, the idea of buying a car and paying the gasoline for a car and paying the insurance and paying the maintenance, it just becomes overwhelming. It's too much. They need the bus system. They need to ride the bus. Next thing is, we're going to have to get, eventually we'll understand, we have to get more cars off the road. And we need alternative modes of transportation. That's important. We cannot continue to pave over our whole earth for more and more and more cars for a wider and wider road. We 2-lane and we 4-lane and 6-lane, 8-lane, 10 lanes. Where does it stop? Mass transit is going to have to be a solution at some point. So we've got to look ahead and we got to think about that. Our elderly people need the bus system. A lot of them can't drive or don't drive or cannot afford to drive. They need the bus. They need to go shopping. They need to go to doctor's appointments. They need to go to several places they need to go. And without the bus, they are stuck there unless they can depend on friends or neighbors or somebody to drive them. And these people aren't always available. So it's a real problem and one that I think government has got to grapple with. We've got to do something about it, and I think we're going to have to look in the future, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to look at mass transit.
As we close today's program, let's turn inward a little bit.
Okay.
We're celebrating Florida's 500 years of history. You and your wife are native Floridians. You have a large family. We know that family means a lot to you. Tell us about your family.
I'll tell you about my family. Well, let me tell you one thing right now. I now have a great-grandson, and he lives in Lake City, Florida. And I smile every time I think about him. I told my wife when we had made our first visit up there to see him on the way back, I said, I can't come to grips with the reality. I'm a great-grandfather. His name is Eli Michael Schneider. I have to say that again. Eli Michael Schneider. And he's just absolutely beautiful. But anyway, I'll tell you that we have 6 children.
You're blessed.
Barbara and I. And we have 10 grandchildren.
Wow.
And now we have 1 great-grandchild. And I'm sure there'll be others in the future, but he's the first one. So, we're very proud of our family.
And what's next for you in your life?
What's next in my life? I don't know. Right now I'm committed and obligated to do the best job I can for the people of Polk County for the next 3.5 years. They have elected me to do this job, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to do it. And I make myself always available to people. I will meet with anybody at any time. I go out and speak every time I'm asked. I respond to phone calls, to emails, to letters, and I want to be open and available to the people, and to help them every place I can. And I think we do. I think we make a difference in people's lives. And I won't go through the story, but you remember the story of the little boy with the starfish. That. I can't pick up all millions of these starfish that are dying out here on the beach, but I can make a difference in one of them's life and throw him back. And some of the people in the county, that I definitely know that I have made a difference in their lives. And I know that Polk County Commission has made a difference in their lives.
Thank you, Commissioner Ed Smith, for joining us. Next up is Commissioner Todd Dantzler. Please stay tuned for the Commissioner's Report. Welcome back to the Commissioner's Report. Joining us now is Commissioner Todd Dantzler.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Appreciate it, Jim.
Public service is in the Dantzler genes. Your dad was mayor of Winter Haven. Your brother Rick was a candidate for lieutenant governor and was a member of the Florida House and Senate. Your brother Brad is a candidate for the Winter Haven City Commission. Given this bloodline and background, was it a slam dunk decision for you to become a county commissioner?
Absolutely not. When my older brother was looking to run for state office in the early 80s, my dad said, whatever you do, don't run for local office. And sadly, my dad passed away about 5.5 years ago. He wasn't able to relay that information back to me or my younger brother. But I think it's important that we have good quality people doing the business of the county, and that means that people who have some skin in the games, who have money invested in their own businesses, who deal with the government, they need to step up, and it was just my turn to step up. I had some frustrations with the county at the time over a couple of real estate deals that I was involved with, and I decided I wanted to throw my hat in the ring. It's not easy to decide to run against an incumbent, but that's the way that it was, and that was the appropriate time for me to get involved. So that's the reason why I decided to get in.
Speaking of real estate, you're the Florida's reigning Realtor of the Year. How does your private sector experience contribute to your work as a county commissioner?
I think being in the real estate business is important to have a better rounded understanding of land use, of how it all kind of fits together, because that's a lot of what we do is, do we look at, is it appropriate for this place, this business use to go to this particular corner, or this business use to go here? And so I think it helps to have kind of a granular understanding of the real estate business. I'm a commercial real estate broker. That's what I've done for the last 25 years or so. And I think it helps me to sort through some of the intricacies of the decisions that have to be made. And I think it's important to have realtors on different boards and commissions, because they do bring a different skill set and a different decision set to running the business of the local governments.
Mm-hmm. And what are your activities in the community beyond what you do as a realtor or as the Board of County Commissioners? I know your family is a longtime Winter Haven family, longtime Polk County family. You all have a great love for our community.
Absolutely. Well, first it's realtor instead of realtor, so I need to correct you on that one. I would be remiss if I didn't. My dad was born and raised in Winter Haven. My younger brother, Brad, and I were born and raised in Winter Haven, and my older brother, Rick, would have been born in Winter Haven had my dad not been in the service when he and my mom had Rick, and they moved back when he was 2. So this has pretty much been our life. And all of us have given back through coaching Little League, getting involved in different civic organizations, through the Chambers of Commerce. My dad and younger brother were both president of the chamber. My younger brother was head of the Cleveland Indians barbecue for a number of years, which was a huge success. And it's just been something that my mom and dad have kind of impressed upon us, as to those that much is given, much is expected. And I didn't really think that much about it. It's just kind of what we were supposed to do, is what we saw our mom and dad doing through their different community organizations and community involvement. Their friends were doing the same thing. So it was nothing really strange for us to take that leap that you called it a few minutes ago. It was pretty much just, okay, this is the next step in your life. My older brother did it early in his life, in his 20s and 30s. I'm in my 50s, early 50s, I might add.
Very young.
And so I've been here a little bit over 2 years, and my younger brother is 51 now. And so it just hit us at different points of our life. And we're just happy to do it, and hopefully we're passing the responsibility on to our children, our nieces and nephews, that, hey, it is important to give back to your community, and not everyone should be in elected office. It is not for everyone, but there are so many ways to contribute. It could be on the library board, it could be coaching Little League, or coaching a cheerleading squad, or getting involved in your Rotary or Kiwanis or your church. It doesn't matter, but you do have a civic responsibility to give back. And that's just something that's been ingrained in our heads, in our minds, and that's just what we're doing.
That's great. What do you think your most important role is as a county commissioner?
Oh my. I think for the most part, it's providing leadership to the county. There's a lot of people whose lives are touched every day by the county. And I think it's important to have 5 different backgrounds to come to decision making when we set policy, so that it's not all skewed towards real estate, or it's not all skewed towards this or that. And so I think providing leadership and to rally the troops sometimes when they're down, but also just the decision making that we bring is, how do we try and create a better way of life, a better social structure for folks. There's, this is a great place to be a citizen in Polk County. I've been in Winter Haven my whole life. I never wanted to go anywhere else. I went to University of Florida, and after I graduated, my plan was to come back here and raise a family, and I've done that. And hopefully my kids will want to stay here and take care of me when I'm old and gray, and but we'll see. So I think it's important that your commissioners are involved in your community, and they're the ones who are saying, hey, follow me when things get tough. And right now it's tough out there for people. It's tough. Sure. It's tough for the business community. It's tough for the people who work for businesses. And, sometimes it's tough for me. And, I'm not immune. None of the commissioners are immune to these things. But we still got to get up and go to work every day. And I think just showing up is a big part of leadership as well.
I had the wonderful opportunity to work with your dad on several large economic development projects over the years. You too are very interested in economic development. What are you doing to help drive good economic development in Polk County?
Well, my first relationship with you was back in the 80s when I went to work with my dad, and we brought a company called Carpenter Contractors of America to Winter Haven. They took the old Scotty's Trust plant. And, you were very instrumental in giving support from the government side to help set up meetings with, I think it was Ridge Votech at the time, might have been Polk Votech, about some specialized training just for the needs that they had. And, we used to work very well. And we had a period of time a couple years ago where it's kind of had some political issues. And we have basically restructured the Central Florida Development Council this past year. We've got great leadership set up for the next 3 years. Greg Littleton is our president with Citizens Bank. Greg Ruthven is our president-elect with the Ruthven Company. And Jack Brandon with Peterson Myers is our third in line to be president.
So that's a strong team.
Oh my gosh, it's as good as you can get assembled. And we've got representation from the entire part of the county, so it's not one side versus the other. I think part of our responsibility as commissioners is to create an environment where people want to relocate. Part of that is the arts and the quality of life, but part of that is just the infrastructure through roads, through sewer, through just the ability to create a company or expand your company. And that's my passion. That's what I enjoy doing. It's what I do for a living. And I just get real excited when I'm talking about it because I want us to function and function at a high level. And I am quite confident over the next few months we're going to get back to that level. We've got an interim director, MJ Stanley, and we have a lot of things that are in the pipeline that are going to help us create an organization that is just so much more successful than it's been in the past.
Excellent. Now, you talked about how involved you have been as a county commissioner. You also want to increase public involvement in government. How's that going to happen?
My feeling is all the people who have gone through different chamber leadership classes, you've been there because you're a leader in your own organization or you're being groomed for leadership, and it's your time to step up. And what I've done in the last couple of months is I've gotten a copy of all the leadership, the rosters from all the leadership that there are in the different communities and in the county. And I want to start pulling names off of that for when we put citizens on different committees. We have citizens advisory committees on a number of things that we're involved with. I think it's time for those folks to step up. And once again, you don't have to run for elected office. You can just do committee work. And some committees might last for a year, some might be 3 years. Some you may get the bug and you decide you want to run for elected office. But that's the reason you go through these leadership classes, is to increase your network of people. I was in leadership 4 in Winter Haven. So, and I think they're on leadership 32 or 33. I was very young when I did it. But I've got one of my friends works for me in Winter Haven. I had real estate partnerships with several of them. I own real estate with one of them. So it's a great opportunity if you network through there, but also know that at some point someone's going to call on you to say it's time for you to step up for your committee and it's your turn now. Let's let some of these other guys take a breather, and it's your turn.
You talk about good county government. You talk about public involvement. Can the public and the government come together to make government more efficient?
Well, I think everyone's for efficient government. And what's the definition of that? I think we do a pretty good job on the local level. On the local level is where we deliver the services. Like I said, Commissioner Bell and I just got back from Washington, and sequestration was the excuse why nothing could get done. And yet you go through some of these checkpoints and there's 30 people at security when they need 10. There's 20 people right there that could be shifted somewhere else. I think efficient government needs to be the goal of every manager, of every governor, of every president. But what you need to realize is part of what you're selling as local government is service. You're selling, when someone comes in for a building permit, you want to be efficient, you want to be competent, you want to be friendly, so that when they leave, they've gone through what they have to build a house or build a building or pull the permit or whatever it is they're doing, but they've got a good experience. And it's not so much like quantifying if you're a salesman and you're selling a piece of real estate, or you're selling a car or a boat or whatever, where someone's very happy and they walk away and then they get to enjoy that boat or that car. You're selling an experience. So hopefully you can minimize the frustration, but there are necessary steps that people have to go through. And I think that we do a very good job at Polk County in that we always look at our systems and our processes. As you go through something, you sit back and you decompress and say, okay, what did we do well and how can we do more of that? What did we not do so well? How can we do less of that? And how do we deliver a better product and better service for our citizens?
Before we close today, is there anything you would like to tell us more about the man behind the commissioner?
I am very blessed. I've got two of the greatest kids God's ever put on the face of the earth. I've got two great brothers, two great sisters-in-law, some incredible nieces and nephews. I've got a stepdaughter who's got a child that I have a lot of fun with. I've got great business partners in Lakeland and Winter Haven that I could not do this job without their heavy lifting, basically, as they allow me to flit around and do these things. All I can say is, when you disagree with something that we decide, please know that typically a lot of thought has gone into it. I got an email from a friend, go to church with him about a decision we had made, and his reaction was quite strong in opposition of what we did. And his reaction was based on one sentence in an article that the Ledger did. And I wrote him back in an email and I said, just if you're ever wanting the benefit, I understand your position, but if you want the benefit of the 20 hours of research, of staff time, of testimony that I had the privilege and the honor of taking before I made my decision, I'm happy to give you the benefit of that. And he wrote back, he said, you're right, never mind, I'm sorry. And so I think, the big thing is just have faith in us that we don't always make a decision that you might agree with, but decisions are not made lightly. They're made with a lot of thought and a lot of effort and prayer and research. I'm just very happy to be here.
We are blessed to have you on the commission, and you are a blessed individual.
Yes.
I am Jim Degennaro, thanking you for joining us for this edition of the Commissioner's Report. Please join us the first week in May where we'll have another episode. Until then, please take care and enjoy this wonderful community we call home.